And now I'd like to introduce Executive Vice President for the Las Vegas Metro Chamber, Jerry Carnahan.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Once again, I'm Jerry Carnahan, the new Executive Vice President of the Chamber, but you might wonder why I'm here today talking to you about disasters and preparedness along with National Disaster Preparedness Month. Well, what you may not know is my background includes a great deal of years working with natural disasters in the insurance industry, but not just natural disasters, all sorts of disasters as they really affected small business, especially our 14,000 small business agents along Farmers Insurance. So let's get started. If you think about disasters, there's statistics that 1 in 4 businesses will actually close because of a disaster. And if you're in Nevada, you might ask yourself, well, why do I worry about that? We don't really see the same kind of natural disasters we see in other places. But the fact is, this is not just about natural disasters such as wind or fire or earthquake. This is any disaster that may affect your business. So what we're going to try and do today is help you identify some of the things you need to do to make sure your business survives, deal with risks that your organization may feel, or come across, and then try and find a business plan for you to make sure that you can recover from disasters. One of the other things we need to do is make sure we help you understand your disasters from the angle of knowing your risks. So what this really says is how do you identify the threats to your business? Again, any type of threat of disaster, be it natural disaster, be it some sort of other disaster that may come and befall your business, how do you then rank the probability of those threats? So in other words, a nuclear disaster would certainly be serious to your business, but yet the severity of that would be devastational, but the odds of that happening might be much less than maybe a disaster to your business because of a major thunderstorm that rode through and interrupted your IT or destroyed your electronic side of your business. So what we're trying to do is help you understand to say, okay, what are the probability of the threats? What are my threats? What are the severity of those threats? And then trying to put that into a plan so that you understand how you should handle those. So, knowing your operations, let's take step 2. So know your operations. What are your main products or services? In other words, what do you do in your business? And then how do you produce those things? Specifically, knowing the background of those products and how you produce them in your business, and then understanding what can happen to that in the event of a disaster that you may face in that business. From there, know your employees. I mean, it's been said many a time, our employees are our most valuable asset. We hear that over and over and over, but what does that mean? Suppose an emergency hits your business. Do you know how to contact your employees? Do you have call trays in place? Do you have even current phone numbers, emergency contact information, and those sort of things for the various employees in your business? And then even more importantly, what are the specific needs of your employees in the event of a disaster? Do some of them have either transportation needs or physical needs and those sort of things that need to be taken care of? And as you can see, the tip is to have your employees review and update their contact information every 6 months. People change, addresses move, make sure that we keep this sort of information relevant and current. Step 4 is know your customers. And I think this is really critical, and I'll really kind of dive into this whole notion of just-in-time inventory. In the event of a disaster, how does that downstream? In other words, we might not actually see a disaster in Nevada, but in essence, it could impact us. For instance, let's say there's a major disaster that closes the ports. In a just-in-time inventory world, does that cripple your business in that you may not be able to get the supplies or the materials or the products that are that are absolutely critical to your success? So, the key contacts are looking at all the people you rely on, your vendors, your banks, your phone companies, your internet suppliers, all these sort of things, and having their customer contacts, I think it's fair to ask them what their disaster risk plan is, and understanding in the event of a disaster in their business, how in fact it will impact your business. Next step, know your information technology. I mean, what a changing world. IT every day is just this myriad of changes for all of us. And you go back 25, 30 years ago and everything was a paper and carbon paper world, and now it's all an IT world. Are you ready? What would happen if you were to shut down all of your IT systems today? I mean, pull the plug. What happens to your business? Do you have the backup systems in place? Do you have a way to re-access your tax information, your payroll information, your production information, your customer list? I mean, it can go on and on and on and on. And obviously that leads to making sure that you either have an off-site storage facility or a solid backup procedure in place for your business so that you can access that. Another thing that comes in is the world of internet logins and passwords. Are you up to date? Do you have the security in place to protect your business? Some businesses, I talked to a major business the other day that said they had upwards to 1 million pings against their IT daily of people trying to hack into their business, and we all see the news. Is your business in fact safe, and is your IT ready for that sort of an attack? Hard copies are great as long as you store them off-site. In the event that if your computer burns up and all your hard copies do, well, we know that we certainly didn't deliver on that. Next step is know your finances. Do you have some emergency cash? Do you have credit lines? Are you ready in the event that banks are closed, or in essence you have difficulty in doing that sort of thing? I think one of the most important thing any business should have is a very good understanding of not only what do I have in the bank, what are my cash reserves, but what do I have as far as available credit. And that includes credit that would be maybe perhaps a standing line of credit that you borrowed nothing against, but in the event something happens, you can actually reach out and get it. The other thing is financial obligations, both to and from your business. Do you have an absolute understanding of what you owe and what is owed you, and what you would do to, in fact, continue to do business in the event of a disaster? And then finally, I guess payroll, and obviously your people, in the event of disaster, they want to be paid. That's when we need them the most. It gets a little crazy out there. You really need sort of that old all hands on deck, and we all want to make sure that we're taking care of and paying our staff so that they too can come through that disaster. Step 7, knowing when to update your plan. I mean, it's one thing to build it. I mean, we could sit down here, it's Disaster Preparedness Month, and saying, okay, let's go ahead and build the plan, put it on the shelf and forget it. Down the road, something happens, it's out of date, it's not accurate, your business has grown. How do you keep your plan up to date? I think any part of a good disaster preparedness plan would be Rule 1, build the plan, Rule 2, challenge the plan, and Rule 3, update the plan. I think the other thing you should do is make certain everyone's on board on the plan, and as the slide says, have your employees review the plan. But just as I recommended earlier that any key vendors or any key partners would provide you their disaster plan, I think it's just as critical that you update your plan to them so that they know exactly how you will operate. So testing the plan, it comes in next, is saying, okay, you've got a plan in place, how do you test that plan? And that's really the simulation market. So making sure that at least I think every 6 months, you simulate a disaster. And I mean, quite frankly, it can be a disaster that we might expect in your geographic territory. It might be an economic disaster. It may be a disaster that affects your key suppliers or vendors from far outside where you actually are. So put those down, think through those as your business, and then test those plans to make sure you're ready in the event of that sort of an environmental situation. So the other things I'd add as we go to the question piece is the other folks that have to be a part of your disaster plan, and that would be, for one, the chamber. I mean, we never underestimate the power that the chamber can bring to you, either from the resources of the chamber or resources of chamber members. One of the things that I think has been most beneficial as I've been into major disaster, and specifically I'm talking things like Northridge earthquake or Hurricane Katrina, or even major snowstorms, which frankly can be just as large a disaster to their own extent, is never underestimate the power of networking. And I think the chamber is a great place to think about that for your business, so that if something happens, reaching out to the chamber can engage other members as well as the chamber's assets, internal assets, to help you sort of wade through that. Obviously, the other ones, the simple ones, make sure you know your police, your fire, your Red Cross, those sort of things. The one that may get overlooked, I think, a lot is your own insurance. Where are you on the insurance in your business? Are you prepared? Is your insurance broker or agent your partner? And understanding what your disaster preparedness can be. So with that, I know we've gone through it a little quicker than maybe some would like. On the other hand, I think it's fairly straightforward, and just reviewing, saying, do we understand our risks and recognize that those risks are not just environmental risks, that those risks can be social, economic, could be a construction company coming out and taking out your building, who knows. Number two, do we understand what our people need on that sort of thing, where we are with them. Number three, making sure our customers, and when I say customers, it's not just who we sell to or who we work with, but also our vendors, our suppliers, and those sort of things. Number four, identifying your IT needs, making sure that you're prepared from that aspect of your business. Next is finances. I think your banker should be an absolute partner in your business in understanding what you would do in the event of these disasters. And then testing and building and updating this plan. So with that, I'm open to any questions. Other than that, I hope that you will use some of the information to build a plan. I know that we can help you with some forms that will make that very easy in your business, sort of a checkbox type system that you can ask yourself questions in the business. Do I have this? Do I have that? To be the framework of your disaster plan.
So at this time, if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask Jerry, this would be a great time to do that. And just as a reminder, if you're joining us on the phone and the web, you can do so by typing it into the chat feature in the bottom left corner of the screen. Or on your phone, you can ask a question by pressing *7 to unmute your line.
So hearing no questions, I've either riveted you with my absolute intelligence on disaster or bored you to sleep. Either way, I'd like to extend my thanks to the team for asking me to address this, and certainly if anybody else has any questions later on, please reach out to the Chamber. This will be posted on our website, as you're well aware of, and any questions you would have of me, certainly reach out to me.
So thank you again for joining us, and just to recap, this webinar will be available on our Chamber website, lvchamber.com, along with a calendar listing of any future Chamber universities we have coming up. Have a great day, everyone.